very first thing we have to do is to get through the glory hole, and it is very tight.
And Jamie's got to do some very tight navigating to get through this thing without hitting the sides. When we go through, we hit something then, don't know what that was. Oh, there you go. Right, who wants to take bets on whether we're going to get through this without hitting one bit of the boat? Big day today. We are off to Lincoln. We've got a mooring slap bang in the middle of the city, which is very exciting. Never been anywhere like that. Quite as noisy and busy and city-like, so looking forward to that. We've just left our mooring, our wild mooring, outside Burton Marina. Wasn't my favourite. Too many people, lots of people going up and down, dogs and children and bikes and joggers and canoeists and all that, which is great. And they're all having a lovely time, but if you know us, you'll know that we like to be quiet and we like to be somewhere very rural. Having said that, the bird life was and continues to be spectacular, and the reed warblers only stop for about 2 hours a day because it's the middle of summer, so they have so much light all day that they just never stop singing. For our friends back in the tropics, it must be very strange to think that daylight can go on until 10 at night and start at 4 in the morning. It is strange because that's, even for us it's strange, although we grew up with it. We've spent so many years with the sun setting on the dot at 6 and then rising again at 6, and suddenly having these very, very long days. I'm finding it quite difficult to sleep, to be honest. It's just about to be a heat wave here in the UK, which is very exciting. Not great if you're in the middle of a city in a steel tube. So, not very far to go today, just a couple of miles to our spot on a pontoon. But for the moment, I'm just going to enjoy being out on the canal on this lovely sunny day. Brayford Pool Marina is slap bang in the centre of town next to the university. Fortunately, term had finished, so this spot, surrounded by pedestrianised walkways, was unusually quiet, until a dragon boat race took over the pool for a day. This annual event sees teams from the region compete in aid of charity. It's a fun spectacle, although Marley struggled to comprehend the noise and the chaos. The pool is the perfect base for exploring Lincoln, the capital of Lincolnshire. This often overlooked city is lively, full of curious shops, independent stores, and plenty of places for pots of tea and cake. Each day we visited the centre of town. It was bustling with locals and tourists alike. The mix of modern and medieval buildings gives the city a relaxed and welcoming atmosphere with something for everyone. Although Lincolnshire is known for being flat, don't be fooled. Many of the sites of Lincoln are up a winding hill with a 1 in 7 gradient, called, appropriately enough, Steep Hill. It takes you from Well Lane at the bottom to the cathedral and castle at the top, and no visit to Lincoln is complete without seeing one of Europe's most impressive buildings. Lincoln Cathedral, also known as Lincoln Minster, began construction in 1072, with some of those original parts still standing. It was damaged by an earthquake in 1185 and rebuilt over the following centuries. Before one of the wooden spires, constructed in 1420, collapsed under the weight of its lead lining, locals said that Lincoln Cathedral was the tallest building in the world. Imagine being a God-fearing farmhand working in those flatlands with this structure staring down at you wherever you went. It would have been an intimidating sight. The cathedral is magnificent, both inside and out. So much so that Jamie went back for the roof tour, led by a volunteer named Tian, who also volunteers at Torksey Lock. Jamie usually isn't a fan of guided tours, but he says this was probably the highlight of his year so far. I won't go into too much history here, since there's plenty of information available elsewhere. All we'll say is that visiting Lincoln Cathedral is a must. While you're there, keep an eye out for the peregrine falcons nesting in the bell chamber. Then stop by Lincoln Castle, home to one of only 4 original copies of the Magna Carta, written in 1215.
We are mentally preparing ourselves for the next leg. Very first thing we have to do is to get through the glory hole. I'm sure Liz will tell you a bit more about that, but it's an ancient archway that runs underneath the High Street of Lincoln, and it is very tight. After that, we've got a few more low bridges, then we've got a sluice lock, and then apparently, according to some people, there is a lot of weed out there which we could be contending with. So we'll just take that as it comes. The main thing is just getting through the glory hole. We've done our measurements, we know the boat can get through, but it's always a little bit sort of anxiety ridden because it's going to be quite tight.
Just reversing off our mooring out into the Brayford pool, because we're saying goodbye to beautiful Lincoln today. We ended up having to spend 3 weeks here because I needed to sort my toe out after the operation. I needed not to move for 2 weeks. So Jamie's had a really good look around Lincoln. I've had a couple of days to have a good look, but it's just a wonderful city. If you're ever in the area, come to Lincoln, walk around the old town, go to the cathedral. Thoroughly recommend it. And if you've got a boat, you need somewhere to stay, we can heartily recommend staying right here in the middle of Lincoln in the Brayford pool. Very nice people run it, and it had everything we needed. First thing we have to do is, once we get out of here, we are no longer navigating on a canal. We're going to be on the river Witham. To get onto the river Witham, you have to go through, or underneath rather, the High Bridge, as it's known. It's the oldest bridge, I believe, left in the country that's still got buildings on it. And that means you have to go through a small tunnel, which is extremely tight if you're in a wide beam. It's 15 foot wide, and we're 12 foot wide. It's also only 9 foot high, which means we have to take stuff down off the top to make sure we don't hit anything. And Jamie's got to do some very tight navigating to get through this thing without hitting the sides. The first for us, something like this. So there's a green light which says that there's nothing coming, which means we can go through. Once we're through the entrance here to the small bit of canal before we hit the glory hole, as it's known colloquially, the glory hole, we're then committed. I'd be lying if I didn't say I wasn't a little bit nervous. So useful having the bow thrusters, I have to say, left and right. So now we're going under the bridge, out of the sun. It's not as hot as it has been today. We've got a nice bit of a breeze, which is great on the skin, not so great when you're trying to navigate, because it does push the boat around a bit. One of the good things about going through now is that there's been no rain at all for ages in the UK. So the water is quite low, and for once that helps us because it means there's more clearance when we go through. Ooh, we hit something then, don't know what that was. Okay, so now Jamie has to set up and get ready to go through the glory hole itself. You'll see the high bridge above us where there are shops and old buildings and so forth on it. Really pretty when you're up there. It's the high street and lots of nice shops and things. And now we've got people watching us, which is never very nice. It's always makes everything more difficult. It's like snooker. We're going to be Yes, it's nice, but what it does is it moves the boat, which is not great for us. So we've had a few little dings coming through this far, and over my left shoulder is High Bridge, and you can see where we've got to get through. What they don't tell you. So what they don't tell you in all the things that we've read is that to get to this position is like this. So to keep the boat straight isn't easy. Oh, there you go. I don't know if you felt or heard that bump, I certainly did. We're being pushed over to one side because this breeze has moved the water about a bit. It's moving us about a bit. Right, who wants to take bets on whether we're going to get through this without hitting one bit of the boat? The wind has now died completely, so that's lovely. I'll show you the ceiling as we go through. I do believe we got all the way through without banging anything. So it's just the run-up that involved a few collisions with the walls. But then that's what these are built for, these barges. They can bang into things, it doesn't matter. They're made of steel and very different from our old yacht, which was fiberglass, which wouldn't have liked that at all. But this is a great big metal thing, and it can handle a few dinks here and there. So we're through. We're through underneath High Bridge through the glory hole, and now going to make our way out of Lincoln. Not too far, probably about an hour's worth of driving, navigating to the next CRT water point, where there's an overnight, or I think there's 2 night moorings. So we'll gut ourselves there and then decide what to do next. However, what we have been told is there is so much weed that it's very difficult to get through. In fact, one boat turned around and came back to the marina, having tried to do what we're about to do. So let's see what happens. First of all, though, we have got a lock coming up. A few bridges to go under, mostly road bridges, the odd footbridge. Yes, so I nipped up the back to have a word with the skipper to see how he felt about all of that, but he told me to come straight back at the front here just so that I can con him through if there's any obstacles. At the moment we're okay, but I know it's going to change. Anyway, his quick reaction when I asked him how it was, I don't tell you about all this left and rights you've got to do before you even come anywhere close to the bridge, to the tunnel, to the glory hole, whatever you want to call it. No, they don't. And I said, that's exactly what I said. The actual getting through is actually easy. So anyway, here we are on the river. There's a few low branches. Oops. Looks like these are going to avoid us. So I hadn't taken into consideration that there were going to be all these branches hanging down. This is a new thing for me. Normally branches hanging down we miss easily, but we couldn't avoid them that time, unfortunately. We're heading now towards the lock. It's a guillotine lock, so you'll see quite an amazing looking guillotine at the front.
Well, here we are on the other side of Lincoln. That was all quite interesting. My initial reaction to that was the glory hole itself is not the problem. Got through that, no problems, didn't hit anything. It's the approach, which is sort of Z-shaped, really difficult to line the boat up. I don't know if there was a bit of wind or water movement, but yeah, really struggled to line the boat up. And then when you come out the other side, you've got all these overhanging trees and boats parked up, moored up, parked up on the side. So a little bit tricky coming out. And in fact, we did lose our chimney, which I forgot to take down. Fortunately, it's just a little thing that's removable anyway. This thing here, that got hit by a branch. But otherwise, that was all okay. Perfectly manageable. Despite the wind, there is still quite a bit of wind. Anyway, we're at the sluice now. And Liz is just doing some inspecting, so we have to stop beforehand because the sluice is down, as you can see. And there's our sluice operator. I'm leaving this to the expert.
That's closed. Right,
You have to keep it to...
no, it doesn't want to do it.
Okay, we got there in the end. The sluice on the port side there was, well, I opened it and closed it. It was closed, but they have to be closed before you can open that. So anyway, I just turned the handle backwards and forwards. And it seems to have done the trick. You have to remember, Liz only had her stitches out of her toe a few days ago, so she's doing very well. I think her toe's going to be throbbing later. Anyway, we've just got to tie up on the other side, close the sluices, close the gates, and then it's just a couple of miles to Washington. That's our first stop.
This is a great thing about canals and rivers. They're all over the place, but quite often we don't know they're there. And the thing is, when you get down to the riverside or the canal side, you're in a whole different world. Behind me and in front of me and behind us is Lincoln, big city with the cathedral and all that. But just a few, less than a mile from where we started, we're in the countryside again. It's just brilliant because there's all kinds of life going on here. Obviously birds as always and insects. There's some swallows here, martins, they're drinking from the water. The plant life's incredible, obviously, because it's got lots of water. So these water lilies and the water irises are thriving at the moment. This is the summer in England. It's just beautiful.